Hello, my name is Katie, and welcome to the first lesson of CCA Goes to Code Intro to Frontend Web Development curriculum. Through this course, you'll be introduced to the basic web development skills, and don't worry if you have never programmed before, we'll make sure to walk you through each concept. I'd like to introduce Isabella, who will be the instructor for today's lesson.
So, what is web development? Web development refers to the building, creating, and maintaining of the website. Holistically, the process includes aspects such as web design, publishing, programming, and database management. We can classify the field of web development into two categories: front-end and back-end development. Front-end web development is the practice of producing HTML, CSS, and JavaScript for a website or web application so that a user can see and interact with them directly. Front-end web development is also known as the client-side development, since everything developed by the front-end engineer is targeted for the users. The objective of designing a site is to ensure that when the users open up the site, they see the information in a format that is easy to read and relevant. This is further complicated by the fact that users now use a large variety of devices with varying screen sizes and resolutions, thus forcing the designer to take into consideration these aspects when designing the site. They need to ensure that their site comes correctly in different browsers, different operating systems, and different devices, which requires careful planning on the side of the developer. The challenge associated with front-end development is that the tools and techniques used to create the front end of a website change constantly, and so the developer needs to be constantly aware of how the field is developing. Now we're going to learn about the three languages used in front-end web development. The first language is HTML. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and it is the standard markup language for creating web pages. The functionality of this coding language is to design the front-end portion of the web page, including the structure of a web page and the elements that the web page displays. The second language is CSS. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. It describes how HTML elements are to be displayed on the screen, paper, or in other media. Furthermore, CSS has the ability to control the layout of multiple web pages all at once, using the external style sheets that are stored in CSS files. JavaScript, or JS for abbreviation, is a scripting or programming language that allows you to implement complex features on web pages. Every time a web page does more than just sit there and display static information for you to look at, such as displaying timely content updates, interactive maps, animated 2D or 3D graphics, scrolling video jukeboxes, and more, you can bet that JavaScript is probably involved. It is the third layer of the layer cake of standard web technologies, the other two being HTML and CSS. Now we're going to talk about backend web development. Backend development is the server side of a website, which is essentially coded programs that allow a database and an application to communicate with one another. It is the part of the website or software that does not come in direct contact with the users. Backend development takes care and maintains the backend of a website, including databases, servers, and apps, and they control what you don't see. PHP, Node.js, Python, Ruby, Java, Golang, and C# are among the most common languages that backend developers use right now on the market. Here are some of the descriptions of the main functionality of each language. Feel free to pause and read them over. The internet had long been around in some form by that point, with the first wide area network having been established in 1965 and the first local area network around 1983. In 1989, Tim Berners-Lee outlined his concept of a computer platform that could facilitate collaboration among researchers who are based in different parts of the world. This led to the invention of the Hypertext Markup Language, also known as HTML, in 1990. HTML became the fundamental building block of the World Wide Web and remains at the core of its coding and infrastructure. When all of these technologies converged with Berners-Lee's model, the modern web was born. Interest in the technology quickly ramped up, and the first commercial web pages were up and running by the mid-1990s. In 1990, Archie, the first search engine, was launched. In 1992, the BB Edit HTML text editor was created for commercial use. In 1994, the CSS style sheet language was created. The creation of the language allows developers to enhance the aesthetic of the website effectively. This revolutionized the look of web pages around the globe. Stages of web development. In order to put together a well-planned, flawless website, developers should follow these steps of web development. Following these steps will prevent developers from having to go back and redo everything because the product doesn't meet the client's expectation. The first step of a big professional web project is to list out all the requirements that the client is looking for and organize all the information into a document for easy reference. The document should contain page layout sketches, target audience breakdown, and technical requirements. We will talk more about the special document later in our lesson. The second step is to create a taxonomy that classifies contents into a hierarchy. The target audience that was created in the specification document guides the design of site contents. Next, developers should sketch rough layouts and then create a wireframe using wireframing softwares. The drafted layout can be presented to the clients for review, and it is also useful for developers as a reference. The next step of web development should be construction and development of contents. Keep in mind that this stage should only be initiated after the design stage is mostly complete. Minor testing and prototyping can occur during this stage. The fifth step is to test it on a pool of users. The quality assurance validates the technical elements of the website, whereas the user testing validates the design and ease of usage. The group of users should be sampled so that it matches the real-world audience. Now, it's finally time to publish. Good marketing and promotion are key for the success and performance of the website. However, the work is not done yet. The ongoing maintenance starts as soon as the site goes live and continues throughout the life of the project. Depending on the contract, some developers will only offer development, but not maintenance service. The next two slides are some key information of the web specification document, mentioned earlier as the first step of the web development process. Since we will not be creating any documents in this course, the slides are just here for reference. However, we encourage you to pause and read it through. By taking the time to think this through before you set your website creation team to work, you're guaranteed to end up with a much higher performing and more user-friendly end product. Best of all, it will save you from the hassle and expense of having to rebuild your website because it does not convey the strong message or achieve the conversion rate you're after. Before we get to coding, we'll need to set up Repl.it, repl.it. Repl.it is a great website where you can write, run, and share your code. When you get to the website, there should be 3 buttons in the top right corner: Login, Sign Up, and Start Coding. If it's your first time using Repl.it, click Sign Up. If you have a Google account, click the Google account and create an account. If not, create your own username, enter your email, and create a password. Now that you've created your account, you can start your first coding exercise. You should see a blue button in the top right corner that says New REPL. It should ask you what language you want to choose. Click on HTML, CSS, and JS, Practice 1. Click the Create REPL button. Once the environment has loaded completely, your screen should look at the image on the slide. On the leftmost area, you'll have access to all your files. In the center is where you'll write all your code. The white area on the right will be your output, which is where your web page will be shown when you run your code. Now, click the green Run button and see what happens. Note that it might take a while to run. What was the result? If you look at the output, a web page shows up and Hello World should have been printed. Try changing the highlighted region to your name. The code snippet might look very confusing right now, but we will go through everything in the next lesson. Websites are made up of files. The files are the code files like HTML and CSS, and media files like images, video, and audio. For everything to work as it should, it's important to pay careful attention to the structure of the folders that are home to those files. The HTML file for the homepage of a website should always be named index.html. This is because a browser that has been directed to a server or a directory always defaults to display a file with this name if it hasn't been specifically pointed to another file. For instance, if you type google.com and do not provide a file name such as google.com/images, the browser will default to look for the index.html file and display. A website project can contain any subfolder, or also known as subdirectories, as the developer needs and wishes. Any group of pages or other files that can exist in a subfolder or even in nested subfolders for organization. Almost all projects practice the media folder, meaning that all media, such as images, GIF, animations, videos, icons, and more, will go into a folder named media. When working on a project, especially when working with a team of developers, it is super important to name files uniformly. This will help others to understand and locate files easily. Essentially, you will want your file names to be simple, uniform, and capture the core purpose, topic, or theme of the web page. The next 2 slides are the guidelines that should be followed when naming your files. Pause the video and read it through.
Thank you so much for watching our video, and congrats on completing your first Girls in STEM lesson. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach us at our email, ccagirlswhocode@gmail.com, or comment down below. I want to thank the following on the production team for all the hard work that went into this lesson. All of the slides and videos in this series are available on our website and in the description below. I hope you join us again in our next lesson on HTML5 structure.